What's up, fam? This is Chocolate AMUN-RA. School session. School is in the house. This is part 2 of the Black Panthers, the Vanguard of Revolution. The documentary of Brother Huey Newton and Brother Bobby Seale and the whole chapters of the Black Panthers from the 70s, 80s, so on and so forth. And this documentary gives you the insight how the Black Panthers was formed, what our brothers and sisters were doing. The unity that you see then was true might, peace, and soul. A lot of y'all brothers and sisters got to understand that gods and goddesses and queens and kings, you have to understand it's a different type of era, different type of people. Their whole mindset was different. They truly believed in what they believed in. It wasn't faking the funk or the nasty dunk, quote unquote. We use the word fake because I don't believe in the word fake. I believe in you are what you are. Either you an absent-minded type of individual who basically don't give a damn, or you're a person that is emotional, who cares, who loves their own people. That's what I'm saying. But you will learn and you will see the racism, how white folks don't give a damn about you and I. And they're going to show you. And they're going to show you and display how they get down. This is part 2. But before we get into it, let's give all thanks to the Creator. The sun rises. Assalamu alaikum. Good afternoon. Amen. Let's get into it. The Black Panthers, the Vanguard of the Revolution. Get your pencil and paper. Let's start it down.
Section 12020 through 12027, and also the Second Amendment of the Constitution guarantees the citizen a right to bear arms on public property.
Huey said we're going to carry our guns and we're going to follow the police, and if they stop someone, we're going to stop. We're going to maintain a legal distance, and we're going to observe these so-called officers in performance of their duties.
We were in the car and driving around having fun. We were looking at the pretty women, chasing the sister. Then something might happen, and then all of a sudden the focus would just become serious.
We would stop. We would get out of the cars. We would walk up to the scene. Those who had rifles would carry them in the open and clearly visible.
We would stand at a distance where the police couldn't say they were interfering with their arrest or their detention of the individual, and make sure that there was no brutality.
We stood back with our weapons ready to throw down if necessary.
They would take the weapon and pass it across like this, and it would sweep right over the officer.
No one would do anything until a policeman ejected around in the chamber. Then we would all eject rounds in the chamber, and all up and down the street you could hear this clack, 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 clack.
And then when the traffic stop or the incident's over, they bring the weapon down across by you like this and get back in their car and drive off. It was pretty intimidating.
We refer to ourselves as the Vanguard, and we were setting by example a new course that we wanted the entire community to follow.
No one wants to touch the legitimate hunter. But we've got to protect society from nuts with guns.
When bands of armed people with loaded weapons can move about our streets intimidating and frightening citizens, then I think we should act, and we intend to act. It's my intention to make it a misdemeanor to have loaded rifles and shotguns and weapons in public places.
The police department had went to a local congressman to get a bill written. So Huey called me up and says, we have to go to Sacramento. It was conceived as a media event that the press is always at the California State Capitol.
No one really wanted Huey himself to go because Huey was kind of a quick-tempered firebrand. Bobby was a little more cautious. And it was like, look, you've been great so far, but, you might blow it up there and, bad things could happen. We caravaned to Sacramento. I think there were about 30 of us all together. And most of us had some weapon.
We was on the state capitol on the lawn, and Ronald Reagan, then the governor of the state of California, was there, about 10 feet away from us, holding a press conference with these young, like, parochial school kids. And what happened is, as soon as the press seen us, they gravitated from Ronald Reagan over to where the Panthers was.
The Black Panther Party for Self-Defense calls upon the American people in general, and the black people in particular, to take careful note of the racist California legislature, which is now considering legislation aimed at keeping the black people disarmed and powerless. At the very same time, racist police agencies throughout the country are intensifying the terror, brutality, murder, and repression of black people.
The State Assembly was in the midst of a heated debate when the young Negroes, armed with loaded rifles, shotguns, and pistols, marched into the Capitol.
When we got in the hall, you have to imagine there's 100 cameras, still cameras, print media people backing up, and I'm saying, where is the spectator section? And the press saying, this way, Bobby. Some party members got ahead of me with shotguns, pistols, and wound up on the actual floor of the California State Legislature.
Whatever armed, whether their weapons are loaded or not, nobody seems to know.
Group who said they were members of the Black Panther Party retreated to a service station several blocks from the Capitol.
I remember this one cop came down on a motorcycle, and he seen all these guns, he got on the thing, and that's when they started to swoop down on us for everywhere.
You have no right to take my gun away from me. You know the Constitution, right?
Sure we do. We're well aware of the Constitution.
I would like to have a gun there.
Why do you believe the legislature is racist?
Because, you're a part of it. It's a white system.
The news got to everyone in the black community who had a television, everyone who had a radio. It was in every newspaper across the nation. It put us on center stage.
I don't think that loaded guns is the way to solve a problem that should be solved between people of goodwill. And anyone who would approve of this kind of demonstration must be out of their mind.
When I heard about Sacramento, I was like, damn, these brothers are bad. They're here up in Sacramento in the Capitol, packing. The boldness, the courageousness about it, the arrogance of it, that put a whole new face on things. I said, man, I want to be a part of this, whatever that is.
Yeah, I walked into the office and told them I wanted to join the Black Panther Party, and they kind of laughed. I didn't know that there were any other women, the party at that time. But then I asked them, could I have a gun?
I was a student at Lincoln University outside Philly when I first heard about the Black Panther Party. I found my friend John Huggins, and I said, we need to leave this stupid campus. We have work to do. We got in John Huggins' little hoopty car. We drove across the country from New York, and when we got to the West Coast, we joined the Black Panther Party.
What we want, what we believe.
point number one. We want freedom.
We want decent housing.
We want an education for our people. We want an immediate end to police brutality.
People join for all kinds of reasons, but the Panthers have a 10-point platform program that really was sort of like the fundamental sort of organizing tool and orientation tool.
The civil rights movement was basically a Southern movement. So when you had an organization like the Panthers, who were taking on things like housing and welfare and health, that was stuff that people in the North could relate to and rally behind.
Our attack was not only against white supremacy, but it was also about capitalism. We actually thought that the way in which capitalism created a working class that was kept absolutely destitute, well, that was wrong.
So we took the position that in order for us to be free, that system had to be dismantled. We could not be free in a system that had oppressed us in the first place. So you have to get rid of that system.
We were not after the church folks. We were not after the Muslim folks. We wanted the brother on the corner. The brother who was getting his head banged in every weekend by the police. We wanted the brother who was going to jail, just snatched out of his car for a traffic ticket because he was black. That's who we were after.
We would get calls from Atlanta, Nashville, Raleigh, North Carolina, from Washington, D.C., Bridgeport, Connecticut. Every city, small or large, you can think of, wanted a chapter of the Black Panther Party.
We would send members of the organization to help connect them to us, but it was destabilizing in the sense it was somewhat chaotic, the way the party was growing, and it was too fast and too big.
There was no screening process. There was no, why are you here? What do you expect to have happen while you're here? What are you trying to accomplish? There was none of that. Members came from whoever just came in off the street. The downside, of course, was we had no idea who any of these people were. We didn't have time for a whole lot of, who are you, what are you doing? You want to do this? Fine, here, go.
This week on Firing Line, my guest is Mr. Eldridge Cleaver, the information minister of the Black Panthers.
Eldridge Cleaver comes out with this book, so nice, a series of his essays from prison, and the New York Times says that it's brilliant. It gets onto the bestseller list. So when Eldridge joined the Panthers had gotten themselves a star, a literary star.
I've been called by the National Review the Go-Go's of the Black Panther Party, and all of this is an attempt to undermine the party or to give it a bad presentation to the public.
Huey Newton always had this vision. He was the visionary of the party. Bobby Seale, he had the personality. Eldridge Cleaver was the person who made the party credible to black intellectuals, to the white left intellectuals. You know.
Now, understand that the Black Panthers, Vanguard of the Revolution, they're beginning to spread out. You see how the unity, without a hesitation, how that unity began to multiply so quickly? Because every black man and woman felt the same type of pain around America, throughout the cities in America. Understand this. So now you have to understand and get yourself a small clarification exactly what goes down. Do you see any difference now than from the 70s? The late 60s, early 70s? Gods and goddesses and kings and queens. I am Chocolate AMUN-RA. This is part 2. The Black Panthers, Vanguard of the Revolution. See you in part 3. Peace.